Hey everyone, it's Brittany and Katie with the Q team in Rochester, New York. We're back for week 2 in our 5-part series on what to do if you want to buy a house in 2022. This week we're talking about the process of getting pre-approved and its importance.
Yes. So a pre-approval is probably after you're connected with your realtor, the number one step before you start house shopping. So we like to advise our clients on the best ways to start that process, connect them with some great local lenders that we know that they will have great products and great rates for them, and kind of guide them on the path to making sure they have their pre-approval and can, determine what their budget is for home shopping.
And what I hear a lot is, I know that I'm not going to have trouble getting pre-approved. I have great credit. And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
However, we need to make sure that we have the pre-approval like in our hands, already processed through the bank end, so that when we do find something that we want to write an offer on, we can submit that to the sellers and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've already been pre-approved. The bank has already said they're going to give us this money. And it also helps prevent people from falling in love with something that might be out of their budget.
Yes.
Which is a super hard thing when it happens to really manage, because if somebody thinks like they might be able to afford the monthly payment comfortably based on their income, but if the financing can't support that with the bank, that is heartbreaking.
Yep.
For buyers.
And even on the other end too, I mean, getting pre-approved is useful to make sure that you qualify, but on the back end, we explain to people that the pre-approval process is figuring out that you can qualify for a certain amount and then also figuring out what you want to spend. So you might think that, this price range is going to give you this payment, but then when you go through the pre-approval process and they run all the numbers and kind of work backwards to determine, where you feel comfortable, that may not align with what you thought that your budget was going to be and what you really feel comfortable with, or vice versa. So kind of determining that in the pre-approval process is really huge to make sure that you kind of stick within that comfortable price point when you're actually house shopping.
And something else that the loan officer will help you with is figuring out how much cash you're going to need for closing. Another very common question I get is, how much is it going to cost me to buy this house? And I'm like, honestly, it depends on what your budget is, where you're looking, what the taxes are. There's so many factors.
How much you want to put down.
I know. There's so many factors that go into it. So not only are they going to tell you what you can afford and what that equates to on a monthly payment, based on where you're comfortable with, but they're going to tell you what that also looks like in terms of cash needed for closing at the different down payment percentages.
Yep, and the different loan products. And there's all sorts of different loan options. There's different grants. There's different, ways to help with closing costs, or not, depending on, what your financial situation is. But you're going to run through all of those scenarios with the loan officer at the time of the pre-approval. So that's why it's super helpful, basically, so you're fully financially informed when you go into it. So the sooner you start that process and have that conversation, the better, so that you can make sure you have the appropriate amount saved, that you know where to start looking to kind of start your homework ahead of time.
I was just going to say that. And sometimes people come to me and they're like, I don't think I want to buy for 6 months. And I say it's not too early to start the process and talk with the loan officer, because when you talk to them, you might realize I do need that 6 months or more, or the numbers they give you might be something that you can afford to swing now.
Maybe I'm ready to do
it
tomorrow.
I know, and it might speed up the process for you. So it's just a wealth of information to talk with the loan officer about pre-approving and all of the different loan types. And then it really helps best position yourself when it comes time to negotiate.
Yep. So reach out to us if you have, contacted us in terms of kind of starting the process and getting ready. Our next step is we're going to help you figure out, the best loan lender, loan officer, et cetera, to work with to help, get that pre-approval
and choose
done.
what loan product is best for you as well.
Absolutely.